varies of hummus. So instead of like roasted red pepper or garlic, we do like buffalo wing, dill pickles, sweet and spicy black bean. So.
Oh wow! Did you see the startup that Noah Kagan did just for a joke for jerky? He started the company in one day, and it was just a bet. And because he always orders different types of jerky at his office, everybody loves it. And he's just a startup guru. If you don't know who he is, AppSumo is one of his companies, and he's making, and it's all passive income, and he doesn't even care. He makes like $15,000 a month. And he just fills orders, and it's a different type of jerky from a different manufacturer or supplier, and it's just amazing how, on a bet, he started the company
and made it profitable.
Because there is a formula, there is a way to pull it off, but at the end, they have to need what you're providing. All right, I guess we're ready. So if I want, am I allowed to sit down, or do I have to stand?
You can sit down.
No rules here, Mark.
Oh, this is great.
You run this joint.
Just for an hour.
Just for an hour.
All right, cool. All right, I'll start sitting and then see how that goes. Wow, thanks for setting it all up.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story, try to put it in story format of what is that universal framework? Because like I said, there is a formula. You just have to master it for yourself. So I'm going to try to go through this in 30 minutes so that we can just talk afterwards. Because if there are any questions I can answer, it would be, use my talent as much as you can today. So today's hero, every great story and every brand has a hero and a villain. So today's hero is the startup. I think the fuel that's going to rebuild our economy are startups. I think we are the heroes. And then the startup's arch enemy is ISIS. I'm just kidding. But you know what? If it gets worse over the next few years, it actually will affect our economy pretty substantially. Now that we may put troops down. No, your arch enemy is government regulations. It is, but hopefully it's not. But just what it really is a share of the consumer's wallet and their time. So this is what you're really fighting against. You're not necessarily fighting against your competitor. It's the share of time, because so many brands are doing so many great things, and so much entertainment is doing so well that you only have a sliver of them to actually care to go over and try out your product. So once upon a time, in a small town, it was North End in Boston. My parents fell in love, and that's how I was conceived. So, but anyway, quick on my background. I've had 3 startups, and I'm starting my 4th now. But what I did back in '99, I was working in Fortune 500 world, and I had this propensity towards just software and computers. I just loved it. Just did it on my free time. And I had graduated from here in '93, pre-law. I was going to go to law school. Realized it wasn't for me. I was going for all the wrong reasons. Then I decided to go to Rawlings, got my MBA in strategy and marketing, and that was in '98. So in '99, I was in a Fortune 500, and I just started building databases for the different departments. It was Centex Homes. So a lot of the superintendents and a lot of the developments, in 1999, it was still green screen. Now, everybody was just using a really ugly green screen. It was nothing like what we have now. Bricks just came out, the huge cell phones. So there was nothing of what we have today. So as I was working there, it every day made me feel, and it's different for everybody. Some people like the structure, and some people need that technical discipline. But just seeing the politics and all the silos and how everybody operated in a silo, every department did their own thing, and it was just there wasn't collaboration, and it wasn't a healthy environment. So that was the catalyst that got me to. I had already been on my own a few years. I think I was 28 at the time, or 27. And I decided to that's it, I quit my job and moved back in with my parents for 3 months. and said, I'm going to just start building software for companies. And luckily, my little brother, there's always that person that helps you and gets you over the hump, that tipping point. Well, my little brother was the ultimate entrepreneur, started businesses at 15, started cutting lawns, then painting company, then he moved on to other things. And he got me my first few clients, and I started a software company. And what I did, this was interesting how I built it. I didn't have any capital to start with, so I would tell a really good story about how I could help a company, to help improve their operations, help improve their marketing, their sales, their inventory, their accounting. So I would pre-sell a year before I even built it, because to build the software they needed, it actually took me 4 years to finish building it. But over those 4 years, I had amassed about 10 clients, and they funded it because it cost $1 million for me to build the software. It was massive. So every department, every employee can use the same software. No silos, full collaboration. The salesperson sees what the project manager is doing, sees what the accountant's doing. So everyone's talking down that whole life cycle of customer or whatever the daily job is. And I did that for about 7.5 years, and then I sold the company, or I sold the software. So I sold it so I could get royalties, sold it to a big accounting firm in Pennsylvania. And you have to watch out how you structure these things. Still today, 8 years later, I have not received my first check. So it's interesting. I've learned you have to have a good, try to get low cost, but you have to have a smart attorney by your side as you start doing better. So that was great. Then I went into social technologies, and having that background in building all that software, it was really easy to switch over. So in 2007, just when Facebook and Twitter were just born, and they were so new, there was no really social media. Just got born in really 2008. Nobody was talking about it much. So started doing that. Then I went full-blown marketing. So then I did branding and storytelling. But what was cool with the agency, I took all that software knowledge, and for me to build apps, to build websites, to build databases that ran everything in the back, it was a piece of cake. So it gave me an edge over a typical agency who's very creative, and they just design things and write good copy, and they do a lot of things. I mean, I've been in it for years, but it was really neat because there's been this merge too that to be in marketing, you have to be a technologist. To be in technology, you have to be a marketer. So it's neat how they've come so full circle that it's now a marketing technologist, very sought after job position. So so that was technically my second startup, the agency, and then I just got so blown away by storytelling that I did another startup with a really good friend. And what happened is I stopped following the agency, and it started going down. It was actually funding the startup for the company that was called Story Soapbox. So here we were having a blast starting this new company, and I didn't even realize that we were losing all these customers, and just because I think my passion wasn't there, and that's the thing, you have to be passionate about it, because the ups and downs are brutal. It is. You really want to quit some days. I mean, you think some really bad thoughts about yourself when you're going on the downs. It's tough. It really is. And then I got married 6 years ago. Amazing wife. She's just the love of my life. I'm so lucky. And I have a 2- and a 4-year-old. So guess what? Family. And if you want to be it's easy to be a dad, but it is really hard to be a good dad. So I had to learn the whole balance thing, that you can't work 70 hours a week, or you can't do both. You can't. It's a bull crap. It's total bull crap. The other thing about multitasking, I hope you guys know that's bull too. That's all been proven that does not work. You have to focus on a task, go to the next one, because then you're only giving partial brain capacity every time. So that brought me to the next season. So what I did is I went back into the corporate world a year ago, and I said I'm only going to work for one of the companies I love and that I would want to, and it's been rated the last 20 years in a row one of the top 100 companies in America, and that's Publix, and it is just phenomenal there. They've never had a layoff in 82 years. My boss has been there 38 years, his boss 42 years. People stay, it's like you start there, and then when you're 15 bagging, and then you end at 65. And it's funny, you're walking down the halls, and anyone who's been there more than 25 years, and usually they're only like 42 years old. They're already millionaires because the stock options are so good. It's like a quiet story. People don't know how good it is to work at Publix. It's just, but again, you have to want that. So my heart is entrepreneurship, and I am starting another startup soon. So what it is, it's a season. So I wanted to come back, stabilize, not having that pressure of cutting a paycheck every week. You know, I had to do $10,000 a week paycheck to everybody. And it gets to you when you're not making as much some months. On your down months, it just rips you apart. So I am now on a new startup because a couple things. I think the mobile medical industry is going to explode. Wearables are exploding. I mean, the whole sensor thing, the Internet of Things is exploding. And now it's becoming a compliance issue where doctors are going to be forced to make patients use devices that are monitoring your breathing, or are you using your diabetes machine? Are you taking your pills? It's a good thing because so many people do not take their pills or do not. So my mother-in-law invented a breathing device 20 years ago, and she had a patent, everything. She's still doing really well, and it hasn't been updated in 20 years. The patent's already expired, so I'm going to. And it's funny, through the incubator downtown. They introduced me to a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, and an industrial engineer. So we're going to redesign our product. It's going to be mine and my wife's now, so we're going to start a new company. And it's going to have the sensors in it, and we're going to make it really sexy, just really updated. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I think just the learnings of me going through 3 startups. Like, you know, the other thing is people say, I don't know if people tell you that, you know, it's good to fail. It's not good to fail. It hurts. It is so painful, but it does happen, and it will happen. You just got to be ready for it, and it's your attitude when it does, and it's how you react to it and how you get back up. But I've learned so much from the first 3. I feel like this time, I'm gonna protect my time, because if you don't protect your calendar, somebody else is gonna take up that time. So I'm gonna have a good home, a good family work balance. Try not to work more than like 38 hours a week if possible. And you know, you gotta shoot for that, and I know if you follow, what's that wine guy, Vander something? Does anybody follow? Yeah, Vanderchuck, where he said just work 80 hours a week, answer every email, do all. No, that's bull crap. He's a terrible dad. He's a horrible dad. So it is not the way to have a balanced life. It really isn't. So don't buy into that. All right, so I was going to do 1 minute per slide, so I've already done 10 on this one, so sorry about that.
You get to make all the rules.
Yeah, and actually, is there time so I know that I'm not going over?
12:25 right now.
Okay, because I want to give you guys some. So I'm going to go through these. It's about a 20 slide deck, and I'll start with this. So this is the universal framework, and in the center, that's your fuel. It starts with the story. For you to make your brand take off, or your product, it's all about your story. It has to captivate, it has to entertain, and it has to engage. So what I will do, whoever wants afterwards, I can send you the templates of how to capture your story faster. So we learned this when we had that other startup, the Story Soapbox Company. We wanted brands to easily capture their story without paying somebody $10,000 to do it. So you capture your story, your customer story, and your brand story. And then the other ring is service product fit. That's the whole growth hacker thing. Is if you built into the product or the service the marketability into it, it's already going to fit, and you don't have to spend so much money trying to convince people that it's a good product. So during development, as you're building it, make it something people just love. The beta testers just love what you're family and friends are just crazy about it. And you have to make a number of iterations before you're ready to go. Oh, that's the other thing. Go at 80%. Don't wait till you're at 100%. You got to execute at 80, because it'll never be 100. And then you are going to run out of passion, and you're going to run out of money, and you're going to run out of time. And then the next ring is software. It seems like software is behind everything that's happening in the world. Behind anything that has been optimized that works better, there's a software piece written to make it work. So that's the fuel in the middle. And then there's an infinity loop. I'm going to try to spend most of the time on the left side, the growth journey, because where you are, it's about you got to grow and get people interested, and if you're already up, you got to get customers. So how it goes is on the outside of that ring, those are the things the potential customer's doing. So your prospect is discovering you while you're trying to find him. They're evaluating while you educate, and this is where brands fail. They don't educate enough. They just try to sell too much. And then you try to close while they buy. Then it goes through to the other side, and that's where you retain. But again, I want to stay on the left side of that. And this took me about 2 years to create this framework. I finished it about a year ago, and it really does. You can plug it into a company, and what they do is they map out that journey. So what are the things a potential customer does while they're discovering? Well, they're bouncing around. They're going to other options. They're going to other competitors. They're being confused by life or other things. And then you're trying to figure out how to find them. Are you doing advertising, pay-per-click? Are you doing great SEO? What are you doing to find them? Are you showing up at events? Are you searching on LinkedIn? So all those touch points. And usually it depends on the industry, but I've usually mapped out between 70 and about 150 touch points before you finish the loop. And sometimes even just to close the deal, it could be 50 or 60 touch points. So what you do, you optimize that. And what you're trying to do is shorten the sales cycle. You're trying to get them to decision faster, but with trust. You don't want to force it because then they're going to be upset and they're going to find a way to leave. So you optimize and see what you shouldn't do. So I asked a few people. Alex, what's her last name?
Gravitas.
So she went through here. She's created her company that's doing, seems like it's about to explode. The button.
Made to alter, yeah.
Yeah, made to alter. So she was going through some of the things she's doing, and she said one of the things she's doing is she's trying to find students who will sell this for her on commission. I said, just stop right there. It's a total waste. You can be spending more time just going after certain types of companies and stop that, because if you're selling those buttons, do you know how many you have to sell? You have to sell 10,000 before you'll even make $500. Why would you do that? There has to be a huge return for you to work on commission. So I told her just stop that effort. So there's certain things she's doing that she needs to stop, other things she needs to accentuate and do more. And the whole thing about growth hacking, if you find something that really works, utilize that, put all your effort there until you start seeing it not work, and then move on to something else. Okay, Act 1. So that was the framework, that if you follow that framework and you're consistent with it, it really does help shorten that cycle and make it easier for you. So Act 1, story and branding. So you start here. So why it's not easy to build a brand without luck and money? Well, I mentioned it briefly. It's the share of time between you, the big brands, the influencers, daily life, and the entertainment industry. So now that I work for a big brand again, the budget I have in digital, I spend $4 million just on pay-per-click. My budget for commercials is $80 million. So we go through $80 million every year just doing TV commercials. And it just goes on and on. It's like a $260 million budget that we spend on marketing, advertising. Guess what that does to startups and small companies? You wonder why it costs so much to advertise online. It's because the big brands are forcing the price to go up so high. It's nothing to us. Like we have 2.5 million fans on Facebook. Well, we did the analysis. We paid over $1 per fan. So we paid $2.6 million to get those 2.5 million fans. Are you willing to do that? I mean, that's just crazy money, and they all do it. I mean, our industry is Target, Walmart, Whole Foods. Those are Publix competitors. Winn-Dixie, who's disappearing faster than you can tell, but we all spend that crazy type of money, and it's just and we only make up 0.7% of the whole budget. That's how small that 280 million is. Really nothing to the company. So
sales 280.
No, we do, I think, 38 billion. So the 280 million is nothing, and we could double that if we really were in trouble. But again, the employees love the company so much, and people are so loyal to each other. There's no infighting. It's such a safe company to work for, and we go slow. We're not first to technology. We're first to look at it, but we're not first to implement. It's another way we win is because we wait and see, like how Target just got, what was it, 100 million people's
The red card, yeah.
Yeah, and it cost them something like 250 million, and so many people got fired over it. Or no, it's going to cost maybe $1 billion by the end of the year, just from that little database issue of somebody stealing all those names. So it's because they were too wide open; they weren't paying attention. All right, you start with your core stories, the power of three. You go through this little process, and again, who's ever interested, I know somebody's got my contact info. So if you're interested, I'll send it. Who would?
I think it would be great, Mark, if we if you want to share it, we'd like to share it with all the starters.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah. So I can put something together, and then whoever wants to go through these processes, because I can't do it in an hour. There's no way. It takes you a couple weeks to go through this. So you capture their story, your customer story. You capture your personal story as CEO or founder or co-founder. You got to capture your story. Then you capture your brand story. And what's really cool, when you do your brand story, we've got a shortcut. You actually pick your archetype. So there are 12 archetypes that have been established over the years. And almost every movie, every great director in Hollywood follows these 12 archetypes. And every great movie, when you study these archetypes and you study the hero's journey, it's called, you'll see all the best movies made follow that hero's journey, and you watch the movie again. All the Star Wars, Matrix, what's the real funny one? Princess Bride. Most of the Pixar movies follow this. So, and you'll watch it again because you know the hero's gonna tank and then he's gonna save the day. He's gonna get the magic elixir. Well, you need to do that for your brand too. It makes it fun to work there too because you create a story around your concept. And if you are in idea stage, that's all you got. All you got is your story. So. It's really neat to go through this because you find out more about yourself too. And then you have to have an omni-storytelling discipline. What that means is it builds off of your brand, your online story, your on-site, what you tell your co-founders or employees or team, whoever you all are. Nobody's getting paid. You're all just doing this out of passion. That on-site story has to match the online and then the on-stage. And I'll give you the on-stage too. It's how to do an amazing 30-minute pitch, how to do your elevator speech, how to do a keynote. And that is what you need because you'll sell your concept just on that story. So on stage is for the CEO or the founder, is you tell a captivating story and you bring them through the ups and downs of yourself. And when you're done, they're like, wow, where do I sign up? Where do I drink that Kool-Aid? If you do it well, which you can. So it's another interesting thing to go through. And it has to match because I've made mistakes as an agency when I had my agency is I would tell a great online story. As soon as they called customer support, it did not match the website. Customer support was not there. They didn't care. So we told this great story of how amazing we are, and then the on-site did not match that. And the CEO didn't match it either. So the CEO was not authentic. Oh, and that's the other thing which I think you guys have all figured out. Because we study the big brands, you would not believe how much money we put into learning everything about the consumer because we find our targets, we use these massive databases, and you would not believe what we can find out about you. It's mind-boggling what we can find out legally, let alone what the NSA figures out on everybody. So if I have your zip code or any piece of information about you, I can triangulate your buying propensities and what you do online and how you do it. And what you do in store. So much research goes into that. Like we do all these studies and we track your eyes when you're going down the aisles in store. We don't do enough online yet. We're going to start doing that too. But we watch where your eyes are shifting and going, and then we change the product lineup based on traffic and all that. And now that eye beacons are coming out, so there are going to be like 30, 40 beacons in each store. So if you've got our app, as the phone goes by a certain aisle, it's going to say, hey, meatloaf's on sale. Which is good. You'll like that. Those are things you'll like. But we as Publix, we're going to be very late to the game because we think it's creepy. And everyone's trying to do it right now. They're quietly trying to do it. And maybe 10 years from now we'll do it too, or maybe not. I don't know. That's a tough one. That's I don't know. Omni-channel. This is your own media, you're paid and you're earned, all have to feel seamless. So if you've got a mobile app, a mobile site, and a desktop site, well, they all have to tell the same story. And a lot of companies don't do that. I know the shortcut to that, the easy way to figure it out is either be responsive or adaptive. So the site just changes by the device, and you always design mobile first. I'll talk about that. Again, you would not believe how many companies do not do this. They do not have a seamless story across every point, every touch point. The Growth Hacker 101, service product market fit and software. I think we covered this one. It's all in the, like I said, it's all about the iterations. It's all about, as you're designing it, build the marketing into it. So you don't have to pay for marketing. So you get that core of 100 customers who love you, and they just start. And work for the 100. If you can get 100 amazing customers who will talk about you, it will propel you. It will get you to that 1,000. And then it seems like 1,000's a tipping point. If 1,000 people really like what you offer. But again, if you're building a product or service that sells for $50,000 a pop or $10,000 a pop, that's different. You only need like 100 very happy customers. And I just wanted to pull that up again. So I'm still in the circle. I'm still in the center where the fuel is for the story, and the fuel is to then grow and retain. Now, this is the fun part I touched on too. You map your customer buying journeys along your paths to purpose. So P2P is path to purpose or path to purchase. So it depends what you're offering. So if you have a website or something the person can actually purchase online, then you're path to purchase. If you are a service, you're more path to purpose, which you want them to either pick up the phone, show up, or email you, and you close the deal. And this is that, and what you're trying to do is find the leakage. You're trying to find, I call it the 3 S's. You find things you're going to start doing, stop doing, and sustain. And I mentioned that about Alex, is that we identified a couple things she needs to stop doing. So as you're mapping that journey, you're just identifying, oh, they check my website out, then they talk to a friend, then they go to a competitor's website, then they come back to me, and then they call me, or they email me, or then they email the competitor, and then they start evaluating, and then they do 5 or 6 things. Now, if this is, I'm not talking about McDonald's, I'm talking about, these are slower paths. These are slower journeys where a person, I should have said that in the beginning, that if you're just going to a different fast food place, you're making up your mind pretty fast. But this is more complex, that you've created a device or a product or a service that a story has to be told to get them to buy into it. This works for that much better. And then you have to have infectious branding. So I can't stress this more, is invest, make them a partner, find a creative genius, but have him or her just create the template. Create the look and feel of the brand, and then go to Elance or Fiverr and hire somebody at 10 or 20 bucks an hour, or go overseas and get it done really cheap. But get that creative genius and have him or her spend a month with you, and you guys create that guiding template of how the brand is supposed to talk, the character, and the feeling of it. Again, can't stress it more that it is so important to do this. It really helps you win out of the gate. Of course, Google did it with simplicity because you were just going there to search, but that's just the exception. That is not what the other 6 million companies every day trying to fight for your attention have to do. The rest of us have to actually, we have to thrill you. We have to get into your lifestyle. That's the other thing. It's now about lifestyle marketing. It's not about or lifestyle branding, because we have affinities for Nike, Whole Foods, where we get our organics, and and there are certain types of clothes. So you may have an affinity to 5 or 6 brands, or 7 or 8. So it fits your lifestyle. It doesn't fit just the way you market to a person. So when you market to a lifestyle, it creates a more emotional. This one, it takes a while. This concept is not easy. But it just, again, it gives you an edge if you start thinking, I need to market to a person's life, not to, they just come in my store and they buy something. Act 2, design and behavioral economics. How are we doing on time?
42.
Okay. I believe everybody in this room understands this. Think mobile first. Big brands don't think like that. They're still thinking desktop first. And it's funny, you think mobile first, but guess what's coming up really fast is there are a lot of APIs being built into all the new cars. So like my car can talk to my Audible, it talks to almost all my apps. And it's just phenomenal that my screen pops up on the car and I'm interacting with the car now. So you got to think that pretty soon you're going to be talking to your house and you're going to be talking to your car. You're going to be branding and selling on those screens, not just the mobile phone, the mobile site, or the desktop. And then here's the big thing. Do you do it responsive, adaptive, or do you build separate sites? It all depends. If you have a massive database behind running it and there's all kinds of crazy e-commerce that just has so many issues, sometimes you have to do adaptive and sometimes it has to be a separate site. And then again, if there's so much infrastructure already built into it, but if everybody in this room, you all should be going responsive. If you have some IT guy telling you, no, we need to go adaptive, that's fine. So I don't know if you know the difference between the two. Adaptive serves it up at the server, responsive serves it up at the device. So they're both extremely, well, adaptive may be a little faster, because you know how Google now really dings you if the site's not fast. It puts you way down the list if your site doesn't load really fast. All your pages are your money pages. People don't realize that your About Us and your contact page, guess what? They get more hits than most of your other pages. And people fail and fall short there because they always end up going to your About page because they're making a decision. They're evaluating you. You got to hit it out of the park with the About page. And I can spend an hour just on that technique, how to make that About page engaging, and they feel like they know you. Because people do business with people, not with brands. Friction, the cause of no sale. It's all about friction. It's all about reducing friction. So constantly be analyzing your data. If you have a website up, and I'm talking digital, so everything I'm saying is more digital focused. So analyze your Google Analytics or whatever you use to analyze, and you're always looking for where people are bouncing off and where it feels like it's just too. Because when you get stuck, or when you get to indecision, or when you start getting iffy, it creates friction, and you want to reduce. The more friction you reduce, the easier it is to get them to the desired path to purpose or path to purchase. And then persuasion. This guy, like 35 years ago, C.L. Dini, he created the 6 universal. He identified the 6 universal persuasive things that all consumers, we all have an affinity to all 6 behaviors. So look up C.L. Dini, his 6 persuasive rules. They're just universal truths about all consumers. And if you touch on 1 or 2 of those everywhere to a customer, it really does work. Add triggers. You want to add emotional triggers to keep moving them down that path. You know, people need to think about that second click. A lot of times you don't think about that second click. Well, they made it to your landing page or your home page, but always design for the second click, because once you get them two layers deep, you're in a good spot. They're going to invest. You now have them for hopefully another minute, and then you will get that 3rd click. So think about that second click, because everyone's so focused on that first click. When you start doing this, that's true optimization when you're going 2nd and 3rd click. Act 3, content. Be contagious. This is really cool. You know, everybody says this when you know people don't know what they're talking about. We need to make this viral. No such thing. You don't understand. Nobody can mathematically figure out what goes viral. It's just too difficult. This, though, this gentleman who wrote the book Contagious, so here are the 6 steps. It's STEPPS. If you actually go through this, he's got a little workbook. I brought a copy, but I think I can get that to you too, the link to it. This is really fun to go through this too. Whatever you're about to do, you put your product, your idea through this funnel, and it's just amazing. So it has to have social currency. It has to have triggers built into it. It has to have an emotional component. It has to have a public part. And the social currency is that if I'm sharing it with somebody, it makes me look a little more knowledgeable, and I have the inside information with my family and friends. So people want that. You want people to rely on you for information. And then tell stories at the end. And of course, practical value. Whatever you do, it has to have a utility to it. Because you know how I think the stat is that 92% of apps are used once. And like 65% of the apps on the Apple Store have never been downloaded. Is that crazy?
That's nuts, yeah.
That's just nuts. And then, you know, my new startup, the wearable, I'm getting into the wearables industry. And these first round of wearables have been a joke, like Fitbit. People use it for 3 months, and then they throw it away. So this first round of wearables are not working. Second round that's coming out, like the iWatch, I still consider that first round. We still got a couple of years before it really is amazing. But it's just funny when you realize that you worked so hard, and then they never even download it. Top types of content. So they studied, I think, 15 million articles in the New York Times or something, and they studied a couple other sites. How-to articles, quizzes, and puzzles do far better than any other type of content. You know, when you're educating, you're giving them a quick, here's how you do this. Here's how you I'm giving you a shortcut to life. You're always trying to give somebody a shortcut to make things easier. And then it's just funny how quizzes and puzzles just, it seems silly. How are you going to do something with a quiz or puzzle at the end? But it goes social, it gets used and read and shared. And then here's your secret formula for getting things done is some of your employees, friends, and family can aggregate data, some can curate it, and some can actually create it. You've got to find that core of, at this early stage, 3 or 4, 2, 8, how many people love what you're doing enough that one of them will start aggregating, and they just find all the websites with really good shared content. Another person will start curating it and write 200 and 300 word posts about a really cool article that just came out. And then you invest a lot of time to create good content. So big thing, don't create content unless you want to read it. It'll really demoralize you when you see how many people don't read your blog posts. I mean, I forgot the stat on blog posts that are read. It would blow your mind that nobody reads. Almost 99% of blog posts. So it has to be really good. So that's your shortcut, is you curate amazing content, and then you put your point of view on it. You put your spin because you have a unique point of life. Everybody's got their own unique story. When you put your story on top of that great content, it works, and you actually get a little more leverage out of it. Last act, tactics. SEO still works. It's just much harder to do now. It used to be so easy to game the system. They have just figured out how you can't game it. So SEO is search engine optimization. You have to do on-page and you have to do off-page. You just have to do it. Just the results are not as phenomenal, but you have to do it. Social media still works. It's just a heck of a lot more expensive. The big brands have just taken all the startups out of the game because you know if your company, a company page now does not, you post something on Facebook, it doesn't get shared. 2% of your material actually gets shared now because they're trying to bring it back to what it was, to what made Facebook great. And you now have to pay. Like anytime we do a campaign, we don't just do Facebook posts or Twitter updates anymore. If there isn't $100,000 or more to back that, and that for a week, we'll spend $100,000 a week to promote a new sub that we're putting out. So, and we're one of 1,000 brands that will do that every week on Facebook. Email still works. It actually is the most powerful still. So if you have a good list, if you have something really good to share, as long as that email has a path to purpose. You always have to have an end purpose to everything you do, and try to only have one call to action in your emails. Pay-per-click still works. But focus on retargeting, geo-targeting, and pixel optimization. If you do have, does anybody here have a pay-per-click budget more than $250 a month? So,
Mark, can you talk, we're like a little early on that, but can you talk just a little bit about retargeting?
sure.
Like,
Yeah. So what retargeting is, instead of you just posting an ad on the sidebar of Google or on the top or wherever it is, if somebody's come to your site for the next 30 days or 7 days, if they go to a number of other sites, your big ad will show up on that site. So, and it actually is not that expensive. It is very affordable. So they keep on seeing your brand while they're searching the rest of the internet. Do you notice that sometimes where you see an ad pop up, you're like, I was just on that site yesterday? It is very affordable still. For $200 a month, you can utilize that. And so if they've invested in actually clicking, even if you only get 100 clicks, visitors a month, you're good. They're going to see you for the next 30. They may see you on Yahoo Finance, or they may see you on MSNBC. You'll show up on those giant websites, and it gives you a credibility. So it actually is really neat. And geo-targeting, that is where the ad is delivered up to your phone when you are near the store, or something. It's just very powerful. And mobile advertising is outpacing desktop by a huge margin right now. So if you are trying to make a choice, depending on what you're offering, if your customers are mobile friendly, in mobile advertising, not desktop. Pixel optimization is when you have an account. I think really you have to be spending probably close to $5,000 a month on advertising. So what they do is they put pixels. So if someone came to your site, that pixel will follow them wherever they're going for a period of time, and it will learn them. It will machine learn the person, and then that advertising company, the publishing or the advertising house. So what you do when you go to the next level of not just doing Google ads, there are hundreds of great companies that do all this for you. And you don't have to have a big budget to do it. So they place all your ads everywhere. They get the advertising lower than what you could get it. And you will tell them what your target customer is, and they will, because they've been doing all this pixel optimization, where a pixel just follows you everywhere you go, they will serve up the customer you really want. So they will push that. They will serve up your ad to that customer who is 32 years old, has 2 cars, married, and 1 child. Then will come right to your site. So again, it's because what's happening is a lot of the platforms, Facebook and everybody, it's harder to get you to spend money sometimes. So they're trying to be better about using the money that you guys invest in them.
In terms of, you said it a lot, if you're a bootstrapping startup, right? So most of us are bootstrapping startups, and based on, because you've had several startups now, and then you're working in a big company, what would be the things you would invest your time in if you're bootstrapping? You launched, but you haven't gone finance. What would be 2 or 3 things you make sure you did, and 2 or 3 things you didn't do in digital media?
First, you have to go through the story process. Second, you have to just find the money or give the person a percentage of your company and create it, to create a phenomenal, and just go. You can go for a 1-page site. I think it's Stickly or something has amazing 1-page sites you can put up in a day, and it's got all kind of plugins. It actually even has commerce built into it. I think I have it in my notes, but I would definitely, you just have to either offer ownership or pay a couple $1,000s for somebody that you really can see they get it creatively to create that brand and create a 1-page website to just get off the ground. And then third, on advertising, it really does work. Pay-per-click really does work, even if you only have $100. But do it on retargeting. So if you can afford $100 a month on retargeting, that's your advertising budget. Because then you get smarter. When you start looking at all the analytics, social's tough because the investment of your time is crazy, where it takes you away from your company. So you got to be there. You have to have your Google Plus account. You have to have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I've made all my money on LinkedIn because most of my customers, when I had my software company, I would charge $50,000 to $200,000 per installation. So I would look for people who own companies who I would then talk to on LinkedIn. How I got to work for an indie racing team, which was just, I always had I love car racing, so I found this guy who started a racing team. I loved his whole purpose and how he was doing the team, and I reached out to him and I offered my software for free. But I did that. It got me in the door for other things, and I got all of his friends became my clients. So it was really funny how I did that. I just had a passion for. I have a passion for racing, and so you can work for really cool companies. Like, think about that too. Get clients of stuff you've always wanted to do. So it's really fun to work for them, and because you do have to do some sweat equity at this time. So those are 3 things: story, find somebody to help create the creative for you, and if you don't have a site yet, do a 1-pager. And I guess 4 is just have a tiny little pay-per-click budget. How much time do I have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 to 7.
Okay, leveraging others' stories still works. So, quick example of the iOS 8 came out, the new iPhone's coming out tomorrow, and Nordstrom's and 3 other brands have made millions over the last few days leveraging that release. So if you leverage current events, but it caters to your story, and how is the iPhone 6 going to work with Nordstrom? So Nordstrom's introduced some really cool cases, really upscale cases for the iPhone 6 and the new big one, and they got tons of free advertising from it. Influence always works, never will go away. Own a topic, own a city, but still go global. I don't have time to dive into this, but really do good in this one city. So be amazing in Orlando, because then you duplicate that into the next city. Because if you don't have tons of money to spend, it's all about door to door, really, to get your ideas off the ground.
Do you believe that's true even when you're not an Uber or an Airbnb where you're not?
Uber did it that way. They started in San Francisco. Almost all these billion-dollar companies started in Silicon Valley in one city.
When you're not, I think this is what students we sometimes wrestle with. They'll say, yeah, but I'm not a market-to-market play. I'm a software platform. But you still feel that if you just own noise in one area, and that will always...
Because guess what you'll get? 10 testimonials. If you have 10 great success stories, or even if you have 5, it's part of the persuasion. You have to have social proof. If you show 5 amazing stories, you look credible. And that's, as a startup, you need to build credibility. So, okay, we got time for this. 2 more minutes, right? Okay, have at it, real quick.
How would you say, if you have a brand new website concept or something, how would you say is the best way to get trust for that idea from the general public?
What do you mean by a website startup? What do you mean?
Like, I'm working on a concept right now. It's similar to Uber, but it's for children. So it's basically transportation for children and being matched with certified drivers and whatnot. And it's just a big hurdle is trying to get the parents to trust the website and trust the process. Have you any ideas on possible avenues for that?
Trust is huge. So you have to it has to start with an authentic story. And I barely touched on that we all can read through the VS now. We've all figured out how to thin slice advertising and sales pitches and marketing pitches. So you have to be very authentic. And boy, do you have to have a ton of social proof. Because as a parent, I would have to interview that driver before I'd let you take my 2- and 4-year-old. They're my life. I mean, so your level of trust is so high up front. Uber's doing really good, so you can build off that concept. So you have to go after Uber customers who are already used to this new way of taxi, and you need to just target them. So anywhere where Uber is, keywording of Uber, you have to build from that, and you have to have videos. I mean, even cheat it just with your iPhone videos. So you have a big trust hurdle to get over. So you can do it though.
Sorry. Okay. So you mentioned the importance of really infectious branding and hiring a rock star creative person in the beginning. And you also mentioned the 80% thing of just get it out at 80%. So I've been doing a monthly party series for a year. We don't have a logo. We don't have a consistent brand. It's been all over the place, multiple designers. But I'm about to launch our website, 3rd iteration.
Good.
And I just designed it there's still no logo on it, and we do have customers. So should I spend the extra week or two to get everything right, or should I just put it up? It's at 85%.
The
And
thing that you can do in a week or two is phenomenal. I thought you'd say 2 or 3 months. You think you could pull it off in 2 weeks? You need to wait 2 weeks. Dude, just get it. Because you're on third iteration, it's time for you to get it right. So just do it. Just invest a little extra time and effort. People don't realize that you have to invest in that creative. The other side I didn't talk about, you have to have a rock. If you're web-based, you have to have a rock star developer too. But like I built my software company and made a ton of money at doing, it's because I sold it. I pre-sold it so well before I even built it. I really didn't have it built for 4 years, and I had already accumulated 800,000 in sales without having a built product.
What was the key to that?
I just told a great story, and they had huge pain about the way their companies were in silos, and they were losing so much money because no department knows what the other was doing, and the CEO just saw the money going down the drain.
And did they know they were development partners, really? Was there that transparency? Did they know they were?
I was so authentic, and I did a lot of public speaking, and I was on a lot of boards. So when you're selling high-ticket items, you need to really be connected, and you need to show up and be at these. So if it's consumer low price, it's a totally different ballgame.
Recently, have you run into issues with retargeting through online tools like AdBlock and artificial, like computers visiting pages? Have you seen it affecting people going to your page, customers going to your pages and buying things?
I haven't because we spend so much on it. There's someone dedicated to it every day. So there's a person just monitoring the retargeting because it's like $500,000 budget. So you're right though. The bots catch you and they waste your money, and there's a lot of other.
Right. So how do we combat that? As a smaller company that doesn't have the money to get pages out on millions of sites, we don't have the money to get it out on.
Well, I know people that are doing it on, like I said, $200 and $250 budgets. So you're still doing better, even though some of them aren't working. It's still better.
So just getting it.
Still do it.
Don't. People get it. It's better than getting it. Not at all.
Yeah.
So like the Facebook thing is kind of funny because I kind of had like a little event last week on how like Facebook controls like all your media, from the business aspect. Is there a way to bootstrap Facebook? Is there a way to, get more hits off of like, usually when I do advertise, it's like a $20 budget on something, and it's like, oh, hit 48,000. It's usually like 3,986 people. It never hits what they promise, it seems like.
Yeah.
And then they shut it down, right? So is there any advice for that, for like bootstrapping on Facebook? Give me like trigger.
Yeah, there's a tool that a Facebook employee, a former employee, created. I don't know if it's been pulled yet. I have to look into it. And what it does is it farms and grabs all your competitors' Facebook fans, and it gives you all their contact data.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's a hack. That's a real hack. But Facebook hasn't. I haven't seen that they shut him down yet. And it's a $300 product, but it's worth it.
Totally worth it. Yeah.
Because you're going to people who already like what you do.
Yeah.
That's a hack around that.
What is the context of your Publix campaign?
Oh, I started in 2008 talking about social media because it was sad, and I was part of the problem. Everybody just said, I need to be on social media, I need a Facebook page. So I wasn't thinking it through, and I put so many companies on all those channels, and then I started speaking nationally about it. I became an expert at social media, and because I was at the head of the curve. So right now, being ahead of the curve is, on speaking, it depends so that's how I did it, because I was in marketing, and I just launched through social media, and then I went into this. And then lately, I've stopped since I've worked at Publix. I just went and spoke to 60 Fortune 100s. It was a blast, but I'm not really allowed to speak that much anymore until I do my startup and start my next career.
I have a question. You talked about investing the money for your startup on Facebook and their pay-per-like. However, upon research, I realized that there's a difference between having someone like your page and then actually reaching them in their interaction, because Facebook kind of monitoring their timeline. So with that being said, do you think it would be like, someone can like your page, but they can also spend a month not ever seeing anything that you post. So do you think that that's really effective?
And you're not advertising to get them to like your page, because most people never come back. You put a really good picture or a video. Video's doing amazing on Facebook right now. But putting getting the full picture on there with a call to action. You're trying to get them off Facebook. Your ad needs to move them off Facebook.
Okay.
And you don't want to be publishing your Twitter and Facebook to people. Stop marketing for those brands. They're not doing anything for you. They own all of your customers. They technically own every single person that likes you. So brands are now trying to get away. Like, we try all the time to take you away from Facebook as fast as we can.
And how would you do that? Are you encouraging them to go to Publix or?
Yeah, we'll have a featured product. We'll have a $5 coupon.
Okay.
Like I said, a new sub will come out, and we want you to go to our sub and order it.
That's fascinating with all the work that's been done to create the commerce inside of the social channels. So do you think for small startups you would say, don't invest in social commerce widgets like EasyWid and things, instead figure out how you can get your story to translate to your site?
Well, get people on Facebook to share your story.
Right.
But when you're starting to pay for it, when you're paying for this, you need to take them off Facebook and go straight to what you're trying to do.
Are you thinking about like the mobile app installs, like the Facebook? You can, when you're using the mobile, you can, the ads that have the installs. I guess is that what you're kind of talking about by taking them off Facebook with the call to action there?
Yeah. That's
Do you think that's? I mean, do you think, have you tested that out with any of your businesses as far as that being affordable or priced in the right way? If you've got a.
I haven't, and now that I'm at Publix, they are slow to act because we look and see how other people do it, so we haven't tried that yet. Yeah, good question.
Okay, guys, you know how we always feel. We would like to suck Mark's brains out and put them into our brains, because we just know that we could all do so much more if we had all that intelligence. But remember, as part of the community, the first thing we do is thank him for his time.
Wait, I gotta tell you, I was a D student in high school and a C student. Yeah. I hate it.
Yeah, we always know. We already know. Grades don't matter, right around here.
Yeah.
So the other thing to think about is give, ask. Some of you are like, okay, man, I want him to be on my board of advisors. I want him to mentor me. I know. I think just like you guys. So, but remember, we don't want to overwhelm our guests, because then they never want to come back, because they also have a life and they're trying to have a balance. So go easy on him. The thing we want to ask you is, what's one thing we could do for you?
When I launch our new breathing device in the next 9 months or so, I'd love for you guys to at least be beta testers or see how it's going, so you can be part of the conversation, because it saves lives, it improves lives. That's where I'm going. I want to have more impact in life, so that's why I'm going to leave corporate and go back to just doing something that I want to help people.
Awesome. So we have a PhD in life sciences that's going to be becoming a neurosurgeon by Vikram. So we have this whole group here that's kind of in the meta, pre-med, and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So our commitment to you will be, when you're ready, come back. We'll put a team together, either beta testers, communication. We'll be involved with that.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Give, ask, right? That's how it happens. We accelerate each other, right? You guys, I hope you're helping someone today, right? Mark showed up. He's helping someone. Make sure you talk. He has 2 meetings with entrepreneurs after
She
this.
just gave the best advice. That's how you do it. It's about relationship. No startup makes it without great relationships.
Give. Thank you for being here. And then before you leave, I'll touch base so I can get some stuff.
Sure.
And Carol Ann, I've been going after this guy for 6 months to get him here, to try to get him to have a conversation with one venture. And so finally I said, Caroline, get him for a whole day. I only need 2 hours.
Work, so I don't have to work today.
So is that too cool? Thank you very much for coming. All right,
So if you guys want a free startup coaching from Pam and other entrepreneurial rock stars in here, you can see Isaiah or Shakira. If you would like to sign up for our newsletter to find about more events, please see me. But we have a tradition at the end of every single event. We head to the front, play some music, and take an Instagram picture.
Yes.
So, please head to the front, and I will use my phone. Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
Yes, I will. And you can just kind of, if you're in the front, just stack a couple of chairs, move it back so we have a little room, like.
Yeah, right.
Stack these so we can have a second row. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, all you try to get up there. You gotta get in like you love each other. Come on, guys.
You can get in the center if you would like.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you're right. I'm Jesse. Nice to meet you, man.
So here we go. Let's take one normal picture. Yes. Square. I need you guys to scoot like you love each other. Shoulders touch. It's that awkward moment. Yeah, yeah. All right. One serious picture. Smile. 1, 2, 3. All right, then on 3, I want you guys to go crazy, wild, flex, throw some pieces. No inside.
Yeah, we want like really do it. Like when Beth was here, like everyone really got
have to
into
get
it. It looks
crazy.
corny if 2 people do it.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yes! They're nice. They're nice. It looks like 4. Good job. There you go.
Oh, you got it.
Good job, guys.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
She's like,